So we're talking about some of the differences between Bon and Buddhism. One of them is that it's not Buddhism. It draws entirely from Bon to do sorcery that results in loss of life, whether it's animal life or human life or anything like that. Plant life, meh, I don't know, but it goes entirely into Bon. Now, I have a son that is survived when he aged out of his dancing career, which was he was pretty young. He invested his money successfully in the first thing was textiles, and I believe maybe he had another. It was textiles, and so that served as a entryway into the realities of racial ideation, because his textiles were originally very popular with blacks, but they also became popular with whites after having become associated with blacks. And then later he used similar textiles. There was a change in the material that they used for parachutes. And he had bought out the parachutes and parachute material and turned them into pants. After a while, they ran out of that material because they weren't making it anymore. But he got involved with the people that were making it and making those and how they could retool, and learned from a very young age. Eventually, he was making dry on the fly. So you can see that there's a different association with that company than with this first company. But that gets us to the topic of beavers and them being angry. And I'm living on an Indian burial ground. And one of the things that happened with contact was that white people were asking Indians to kill beavers for trade. And this was considered very dishonorable in terms of beavers had no use. You didn't want to wear beaver pelts. You didn't want to eat their meat. You didn't use their bones for anything. And they were helpful because they made these beaver dams and they would swamp out these areas, and after a while they'd silt up and you'd put your corn patch or your garden on top of it. So they were considered part of forest management. They were very useful, and they are so easy to kill. We have to relocate beavers here periodically because they become so habituated to people that they'll just be munching along at the side of the trail, and children might run up to them. Now, you grab a beaver, bad things happen, but if you take a long stake and you drive it into them, it's just really so easy to kill beavers. And so there's no real honor in it. Even the other little animals that you might get for furs, you have to be sneaky and trap them. But the beavers, they're too easy. And so there are a lot of people who want to say that they want to be people whose seventh generation died with honor, but they can't be those people. There's a afterlife benefit for that. So they have unfinished business. Now, my son wanted out of something that he was involved with here because he is royal, and they give people royal dispensations, privileges, as long as they use them to do something that would otherwise be considered very bad. And this is all just accessory after the fact anyway on his part. But there are people here who believe in vigilantism of varying kinds, And some of them, they just like, want to take the full penalty on people who they just deem worthless or disruptive. And I have always been concerned about populational integrity with these kinds of activities going on. And have always, from a Buddhist point of view, have wanted to try to get people just to stop doing these activities. I have been unsuccessful with that. And from a Bon point of view, then you just get involved with them in the terms of, we have asked to be excused from this or to find something else to do that could integrate me into my son's life. This has been refused. So from this point forward, we will exhaust the energies of this unfinished business from the beaver industry and the ancestors of the beaver hunters upon this fawn hunting situation and the after-the-fact processing that turns human remains into Molly. And so there will be a spirit of enthusiasm, also a spirit of guidance, if there is honor in who has been targeted. If there is no honor in who has been targeted, you're just adding to the beaver bill. So they're not going to help you. So there's going to be, there is a limit to how much he processes. It's just like, they used to have a limit to how much marijuana got into the U.S. and who it was sold to. And there's a limit to how much my son is going to process. And it's just whoever rings the buzzer first and leaves it in the airlock gets served. And so if the airlock is full when you get there because somebody else had more enthusiasm and more power and more guidance, then you're going to have to figure out what to do on your own. And that's just how it's going to be.